Well, hello and welcome everyone. My name is Stephen Wright. I'll be your host for today's very, very special live global webcast that we've got for you today. Let me introduce you to our very special guest. This gentleman has over 30 years experience in the direct sales industry. He's a legend in the industry. He's been very successful and he is the visionary of Wealth Boss and one of the part owners. He's from that beautiful country in Canada. Please welcome Mark Crawford. Mark, are you there?
Thank you very much, Stephen. I appreciate the opportunity. And yes, it actually is just getting to be summertime here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm just going to speak briefly to a little bit about the history of Wealth Boss and how we got to where we are today. And just before we got in front of all of you, we had two or three of us that were just having a conversation behind the scenes, and it's really difficult for us to contain ourselves to right now, just because of what it is that we see coming. But about 10 years ago, I guess, there was a friend of mine and there was actually three of us who had a conversation around the reality that kids are today beginning to learn differently. And that the whole idea of kids learning everything, sitting in a classroom with everybody their own age, sitting in rows and having somebody stand up front and educate them out of a textbook, that's not necessarily how it's going to work forever going forward, we thought. And so we started to think about how can we create and develop with technology an online educational process and platform. And so that's what technology basically allowed us to do. And so we put together a platform from a K to grade 6, kindergarten to grade 6, just the normal standard, mathematics and English and the sciences and those kinds of things for those grade levels. And, didn't realize that we were way before our time and how much pushback that we would get from the establishment, shall we call them, the people who, educated kids for a living. And they basically wanted very little of, if any, of that infiltrating their educational platforms that they were employed by. And so we got that. And we weren't necessarily discouraged. We just knew we were just a little bit ahead of ourselves. And so in that whole process, what evolved from that was online education in the area of English as a second language. And so we developed a PC-based platform where we could teach children how to speak English in a gaming world that they're already used to, and it was something that they would be engaged in without any help from adults. They would just sit down and figure it out, and away they go. So it took us a couple of years to develop that platform and some money, and we were able to relatively easily, once we had that platform established, found places that really understood the advantage that children and adults have when they live in a country that doesn't speak English to be able to speak English. Because if you go to any country in the world where the mother tongue, the first language spoken, is not English, the people who do speak English, they have the best jobs, they own the best, most successful businesses, and they have the best lifestyle. And so what we recognized immediately is that this was something that the world wanted. It wasn't necessarily something that the world needed, but the phenomenon of English as a second language is something that the world needed, because English is the language of opportunity. English is the language of business. English is the language of worldwide entrepreneurship. And so recognizing that, we were able to create this platform. We got it into the schools in Puerto Rico, and kids were learning to speak English really, really simply, really, really quickly. We've got tons of data around that, and charts and graphs and recordings and everything imaginable. We were able to get into a few of the southern U.S. states that bump up against Mexico. And we were able to get into a call center in Russia, and so it went really smooth over there. I went to Moscow and sat with a group of people that understood how important it was for their kids to learn to speak English, and so it went really well. It was going fantastic. And then what we started to recognize is that everything was going mobile. Right, so every kid, every teenager, adult had a phone. They had a tablet. So mobile devices were the wave of the future, the wave of the present, and the wave of the future. And so we spent more time and we spent more money, and we created a mobile platform for exactly the same product. Only what we did was we added some things that we felt that not only would parents love their kids to learn to speak English, but they'd also love them to learn how to be an entrepreneur. So in that same platform, they were not only able to learn to speak English in a gaming platform, in a kid-driven world, they were also able to learn entrepreneurship, learn how to start a farm and go buy seeds and be able to plant those seeds and hire people to harvest them, and then buy or build a store and have their product in that store and have employees and pay payroll and pay taxes and all those things that entrepreneurs do on a daily basis. What if a child learned how to do these things while they were speaking English in a gaming environment that they're attracted to on a daily basis? So it has been absolutely over the top, the results that we've had. Now, again, remember, to this point, we were moving this product through a bureaucratic environment where we didn't have people with open arms saying, hey, come and bring your product. We wanted to make it happen. We did in Russia, I guess, and that's why it went really well there. And then I ran into a gentleman by the name of Dan Putnam. Dan lives in Utah. Maybe some of you know him. I know he's good friends with some of the speakers and the organizers on this call. And Dan is an incredibly sharp business owner. And when I sit down with him with this product, the very first thing he said to me when we were talking about how we were moving this product into the world, he said, why aren't you moving this through entrepreneurs? And I am one of those for 30 years now. And it was like somebody smacked me in the head, because it was so obvious to me the best business model to permeate society around the world is through direct sales. You have a product that requires no manufacturing, requires no shipping, requires no inventory, requires no returns, right? So you have a virtual product that you can take anywhere, anytime, whenever you want. And so that's what we did. So we had the product already built. Woogi English, you see on the left, that's the product where kids learn to speak English. Woogi Create, there's just a seamless pathway when they learn to speak English and they get comfortable enough in speaking a little bit of English, they go over to Woogi Create. They just cross a little bridge in the game, and they go over and play with other kids and do things around the world with their own little avatar that's them. And so we created a platform with Dan. Dan created a platform. We formed a company called it Wealth Boss. We have a platform now that is a binary compensation plan. It's able to we're able to create subscriptions on there and to be able to connect those subscriptions through an API with this product that you're looking at right now. And so the things that we have been wanting to be able to do are just days, and I don't mean weeks, maybe more like hours away from blowing the doors off of this thing around the world. And the reality for you and I is about 3.5 billion people around the world who want to learn to speak English. And I was just talking to Carol here before, and you know, the statistics that we have seen suggest that if you were trying to accomplish teaching the people who want to learn to speak English, teaching them English in a traditional manner, in a classroom setting, with a teacher, you'd need 40 million teachers to do it. Pardon me. So obviously, we're not going to find 40 million teachers, but we do have the world's only kid-driven, game-based platform to teach kids how to speak English. And you want to know how it works? Ask a kid. If you take the average adult and you set them down in front of Woogi English and you expect them to understand how to go in and create their own avatar and start to learn English in that gaming platform, most adults just fall flat on their face. We just don't get it. But you set a kid down in front of this and they get it instantly. You need absolutely no adult supervision whatsoever. It's interesting. I'll just tell you this little side note. I just got a clip today, and I was telling some of these guys this earlier today, that we had a clip from somebody in El Salvador this morning. And it was a 1-minute audio clip from a very excited dad. And he has 2 autistic children. And one of them was 7 years old, and I think the other one was 9 or 8. I don't remember what. But one of the kids was functioning at a pretty high level. He could speak quite well, and he could comprehend most things. And the other child had never spoken ever, had never uttered any words. And the last couple of days, they just started playing Woogi English to learn to speak English. And the 7-year-old autistic child started to talk and say things while he was playing Woogi English to reiterate and imitate what he was seeing on the screen and hearing through his headset for the first time in his whole life. And his father was out of his mind. He was just so excited he could hardly even talk. And so you ask me how it works, just stick a kid in front of it. He'll make it work. And why it works? Tell you why this is going to work for you and I as entrepreneurs. Because every single one of us, if we start to understand the humanitarian aspect of what it is that we can do with this product when we take it to the world. We might help somebody in southern Mexico or who knows where. I mean, anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what language it is, because it's full English immersion. Doesn't matter. It could be Japan. It could be South Korea. It could be Germany. It could be Russia. It could be Mexico. It could be who knows where. I mean, you have lots of non-English speaking people in Australia. We have lots of non-English speaking people in Canada and the United States. And so why it will work is because we can help the adults create a better lifestyle through the business model, and we can create an environment with children where they're eager to learn to speak English because they're in an environment where they choose to be. Somebody's not telling them to go sit in this classroom and sit at this desk and do this for 45 minutes. You get a kid on a playground, you get a kid with a laptop or a phone, and they pull this thing up, there'll be a kid magnet. There'll be people surrounding them. And you know what those kids are going to do when they get home? They're going to talk to their parents about what it is that they just saw on their buddy's phone. And that's why I think this may be the first ever direct sales company that's ever been actually driven and gone viral because of the experience that the children are having. So we're just very enthusiastic about it, and the people in the non-English speaking communities, is what it is that we're looking for. And here's what you need to know more than anything else, is the world is asking for what you and I have in our hands right now. They are eagerly waiting for you and I to get this in their hands. So back to you, Stephen.
Well, thank you very much, Mark, and really do value and appreciate it. We know that this was short notice, and certainly appreciate you giving up your valuable time in it. But the difference that we can make I was talking to a very dear friend of mine yesterday on a call, and he's in Pakistan, but he's got contacts in the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, right throughout the Middle East, for example. And, when he heard about this and what this could do for children and the difference that it could make, and one thing that Mark didn't mention that's part of this program that will be rolled out as we go, for the people who maybe they're not a grandparent or a parent, so they buy the product, but they might not want to use it themselves. They can actually donate that. They'll have the ability to be able to donate that product to a child and then be kept up to date on that child's progress. And Carol or Andres, would you like to say a few words?
Well, thank you. It's Andres here. Mark, awesome. You're going through it and I'm thinking, wow. And you look at your speed you can do, you can test yourself. It's awesome. You got different levels, and you know what? It's engaging. It's work. The product's available right now. People are getting paid. Next week, we'll close the week. People are going to get paid weekly. We're getting paid weekly. It's working. We've got the best plan ever. But you know what? The greatest thing about it, you said it, Mark, we're touching lives. We're making a difference. And every day when I look at Facebook, I know I probably look at Facebook too much, but there is so much mess in the world. To make the world a better place is through children and touching their lives, and we've got the product to do it. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome, sir.
Well, thank you, Andres. Really do appreciate it. Now, I've got a person on short notice that she's a retired teacher. She lives in Canada. She actually comes from the same area that you do, Mark, and she was saying a few things that she's never seen anything like it. I don't know if she'll be available. I'm going to surprise her. Her name's Anita. As I mentioned, she's a retired teacher. She's a published author, so she understands the value of passive residual income. And I know that she's been in there playing the program only in the early stages. So I'm just going to see if Anita is with us and if she can share a few words with us. Unmute. Anita, is there anything that you'd like to share about your short experience with the Woogi English program?
Well, you're always full of surprises, Stephen. And hi, Mark. I grew up in Springbank, and I think that's where you live. So we're basically neighbors. I'm in Millerville now, but I went to Springbank School for 12 years.
Wow! I live about a mile from Springbank School.
Yeah. Had a farm just up on the hill there to the east, and grew up there. So I mean, what a small world, eh?
Wow.
And we meet through Stephen in Australia.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway, yeah, I was talking to Stephen yesterday about Woogi, and I just might mention too that I'm out here in the country. I have a very slow computer, and so I was back and forth with Walter Tack a few times with support. He's the technical officer. And fantastic support, and he kept getting back to me, and between the two of us we figured out how slow my computer was, and he put together something where I could actually download Woogi with no problem. So I'm very grateful for that. I got in, and like Stephen says, I'm a retired teacher, and that's just another element to this that makes me so excited. And as you were saying, Mark, a lot of the teachers, I taught classroom, rows of kids, everything you were saying. And I was often frustrated with that because it's so limiting. And this, I got into it, and I said to Stephen, I've never seen anything quite like it before, because it's so engaging, and I just wanted to keep going. And what what you mentioned is a lot of adults fall flat on their face, and the first couple of times I did, and I'm trying to think, this is difficult. And then I realized that it was the game-based thing and the speed thing, and I found myself, you know, that young fellow with autism in El Salvador, I found myself repeating the words even though they were English, and I know English. It was so engaging. I said, I've never seen anything like it before, Stephen. And it's not simple, engaging. It's not simple, so you feel like you're actually, even as an adult, I felt like I was really accomplishing something when I was able to click on the things that were in the little videos and everything. I'm probably not making much sense, but it really is a wonderful, wonderful thing, and I can't wait. I just want to get back in there and play some more. So I think a lot of adults are probably gonna do some learning too, Mark, with this. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, and I'm so happy to be part of this.
Well, thanks very much, Anita. We really do appreciate that, and especially coming from someone who has that teaching background. See if Boomy wouldn't mind sharing a few words. She was just at the big event in Utah. She might want to share a few words with everyone here. Are you there, Boomy?
Hey, I'm here, Stephen, and I am so excited about this. You know, I got to meet Mark, so Mark, it's so great hearing from you again. And let me tell you all what really impressed me this weekend. There was a group of people who flew in from El Salvador, and what they really shared was the impact that this gaming platform would make on their community. And they said, Boomy, listen, we have so many people who don't speak English, and they know that if their kids learn to speak English, this means hope and opportunity for their family. You know, Angel was telling me that maybe the average El Salvadorian woman who's a maid, she may make $300 a month, and she's resolved to just saying, this is all I'm going to be is a maid. But then if she can get her children to actually speak English, she knows that that is opportunity for their family, because now this $300 a month that mom was making, he said when the child starts to work, now that family's income is going to be way more than double. So he was just explaining, he said, listen, yes, with this platform, you'll be able to reach out to all of these different Spanish-speaking countries, but think of how many non-English speakers there are in the U.S. So he said right in Maryland, because that's where I'm from, he said there's a big El Salvadorian community right there in Maryland. Just think about the Spanish-speaking people in Florida and Texas and New York and California is huge, guys. So, you know, I was really excited to hear about the impact that we will make on these families. One other statistic they gave was that in some places it may cost $100 a month for a family to send their child to a really good school to learn English, and most people can't afford that. So here, for a whole lot less, in a platform that's really fun for the kids, full English immersion, they can actually, you know, learn with a platform that the family can afford. So it's just so much opportunity. So thank you for allowing me to share. We're just going to really crusade and change lives around the world, starting with the Spanish, but I know other languages are coming really, really quickly. Right, Stephen?
Yes, I believe we've already got Mandarin and Spanish already in play, and then there'll be more. And we really do value and appreciate those words, Boomy, and everything that you do for all the members of the company. So thank you for being here today, and thank you for sharing.
My pleasure.
So for that, folks, what we'll say is we'll call that a wrap. We couldn't end on a better note than ending with Boomy. And once again, thank you to each and every one of you.